Here's a great example of one of the things that the SAT does constantly. They give us variables, but we don't need to solve for those variables. We're not asked to solve for what A equals or what B equals. But because you're conditioned to want those things, you might have trouble with this question because you're like, I can't figure it out. How do I know? Well, the short answer is there is no way to know. A and B are not set values. We don't know. We can never know what A and B are equal to. But that's actually a good thing, because that means that we can make them up. We can arithmetize here as long as we pick values for A and B that satisfy this condition that we were given in the question, right? So we need to say what values of A and B are going to make this true. The way that I do it is I start with A because it seems to be the more complicated of the two, right? So I would just say, let's say that A is equal to 1. That would mean that this is really the same as 2 times 1, which is 2, over B is equal to 1/2. And then I could cross multiply and get that B equals 4, or I could just see it, that B is equal to 4 here, right? So these aren't random numbers. I mean, the A, I guess, is kind of random, but now I have picked two numbers that satisfy the condition. Sometimes when we arithmetize, we have total free reign. We can pick any numbers, and we pick things like 0s and 1s because they're easy. Here, I'm allowed some freedom with one of the numbers. But once I pick that number, I have restrictions. I'm forced into my second number based on the equation. So just try to pay attention to those situations. Usually if there's an equal sign, that's going to mean we have some rules that we have to follow. But once we do, this is really easy, right? Because then I'm just asked, well, what is the value of B over A? Well, B over A is 4 over 1. And D, that's the answer. So this becomes very easy very quickly. And the whole benefit of arithmetize is that it doesn't actually matter what we pick as long as we are consistent. So as long as we follow the rule. So some of you might do something like this. You might say, okay, what if from the start we just made B equal to 2? Okay, so then you've got 2A over 2 is equal to 1/2, and the 2's would cancel so that you would get A is equal to 1/2. Now I would argue that that's kind of unnecessarily messy, but it's still going to work, right? Because I need to now know the value of B over A. B is 2, A is 1/2. When we divide by a fraction, we keep change flip, so that is the same as 2 over 1 times 2 over 1, right? We keep the top fraction, we change division to multiplication, and we flip the bottom fraction. And so for symmetry, I made 2 into 2 over 1. And then the bottom, this one is really just the 1/2 flipped upside down, which is a long way of saying that we still get 4. So it's harder, the numbers are harder, but the answer is the same. And that's why I really love arithmetize. People are always so skeptical about it. Like, really? I can pick any numbers? Yeah, I mean, there are going to be some restrictions occasionally, but you're going to practice it and you're going to get better at knowing when you have some limitations to what you can pick, or when you might not want to pick a 0 or a 1. But you won't figure those things out unless you practice with the strategy. So even on cases where you can solve it with the algebra, I recommend use this practice time to try out the strategies and get a feel for when they're really good, when they might have some problems, and that way you can kind of use them wisely when it counts on the actual test. This is a really good one for arithmetize. I don't think I would have done it any differently than what I did in red. Definitely arithmetize here.